Welcome to Film at 50, a podcast that celebrates semi-centennials in the world of cinema. I'm your host, Brian Rowe, and I'm so very excited to welcome Adrianne Chivers to the podcast today for this bonus features episode celebrating the career of Regina King, who just turned 50 years old. How are we doing, Adrianne?
I am doing fantastic. I'm so excited to do this with you and even more excited to talk about the phenomenal, fabulous 50 of Regina King.
Absolutely. So we go way back to Loyola Marymount University. We were
Right.
students there from 2003 to 2007. What do you remember from
Yep.
that time in your life going to LMU Film School?
Man, the times that I've been asked that question, literally the thing that I remember most is being
Hmm.
the only Black person and only girl in almost all my classes. That
Crazy.
was just life. It was the
Hmm.
first time that I ever felt like the other.
Mm.
But it was good for me. It let me feel like if it was oddly empowering
Hmm.
because I felt like I needed to prove
Mm.
myself, especially in any of my craft classes like
Oh, okay.
cinematography and stuff. I learned quickly that boys don't like girls that play with cameras. And so I was like, I got something to prove here. But like that was a great program. And I started when I was in high school, I was big in theater.
Okay. Hmm.
I was the head stage manager of our theater department from the time I was a freshman. I was a second semester freshman, and our theater
Hmm.
director was like, "We need some help, and you can do it." I didn't
Hmm.
even know her. She's like, "I watch you a lot, and you can do it. Trust me." And
Oh, cool. Okay.
so I like rose, and then by the start of my junior year,
Hmm.
I was the head stage manager. And then by the time we were graduating, we lost the rights to the film we were gonna I mean the play we were gonna do.
Oh, okay.
And so
Hmm.
myself and three other students, we wrote our spring production. So it was
Hmm.
the first time I wrote anything. And I knew that I wanted to do something in performance art, but I do not do front of camera or on stage at
Yeah, me
all.
neither.
And I knew
Except for
that I
this.
didn't want to do I knew I didn't want to do theater though. And so
Okay.
um then I ended up I was like young and really afraid to leave the state. I was going to go to New
Hmm.
York. 9/11 happened and I was like
Okay.
I'm not going to New York. And so I was like I want to stay home. Where is what? Like
Hmm.
what do I do? And
So
then I
where
was
did you grow up, Adrian?
in LA.
Oh,
Like
you were in LA.
South
Okay.
Central LA, yeah, born
Hmm.
and raised. And I found LMU and then I saw they
Hmm.
had a film program and I was like, all right, all in. And it was LMU or USC.
Okay. Yep.
And I prayed, I was like, God, I love them both. I don't know which one. So whichever one sends me a letter first, that's where I'm gonna say that you're saying pick. And I got it from LMU. So that's where I went.
Yeah.
That's where I went. And it
That's
was a great program. It
Yeah,
really
it
was.
was a lot of fun. Yeah, you talked about cinematography class. I actually studied abroad in Germany that semester, so I took like
Wow.
cinematography, editing, directing in
So jealous.
Germany, which was a lot of fun. But the
Yeah,
actual classes themselves probably would have been a little bit more helpful, like at LMU itself, because in Germany we were all just running around with cameras and
of
going
course.
around different countries and stuff. It was a
Of
lot of
course.
fun. Not the best
Yeah.
like learning experience to learn about cinematography. It was more
Right.
of just like, all right, go shoot a movie, have fun.
Yeah, for sure. I was so jealous. I really wanted to. And at LMU, anything less than a B, so a B
Yeah.
minus or below wasn't passing. You
Oh
got
my
elective
gosh,
credit,
I don't
but it
remember
wasn't
that
passing.
in
And
the
I
in
had
all
one
the
class,
classes.
any of your required classes,
Required classes had to be a B. Okay,
B
I
or
don't remember
higher,
that.
and I got a B minus in a class that I knew I did not earn, and
Hmm.
I fought and fought all summer because I wanted to go. I wanted to go to Germany, and they were like, "You need to figure this out." And my teacher was one of those
What?
who I felt like was just kind of being away because I was a girl.
Huh.
And he did end up changing the grade, but it was after the deadline to go to Germany.
So
So
if you had not gotten a B minus, you might have been with us in Germany.
I would have definitely been with you
Oh
in
my
Germany.
gosh,
Yeah,
I didn't
it's
know that story.
But then it ended up working out. I got the grade
Okay, good.
changed to what I earned instead of what he wanted to give me. That's why I kept everything. I kept every single last assignment that had a grade on it.
Very smart, yeah.
But yeah, it just wasn't meant. I chalked it up to that. Like, it was meant for you to stay here, not go to Germany, even though I'm still a little bit salty about that.
Yeah, well, it's a wild time for sure. I wanted to ask you before we get to Regina King and her career, just
Yeah.
your the role that movies have played in your life since you were a kid. Just like films that you've loved from childhood to now, like a couple of your favorites. If you could just share those with us.
Yeah. So the first two films that come to mind are Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window.
Yes, one of my
I
favorites.
absolutely love Rear Window.
Yes.
And then Love and Basketball by
Okay,
Regina.
which I just saw for the first time. I do, Film at 50, we look at films from 50 years ago, but on the side, not for the podcast, I also look at films from 20 years ago. And I was I was really big into films in high school, like going every weekend, what would that have been, 99 to 03. And I missed this one, and I watched it 6 months ago for its 20th anniversary. What a fantastic film.
It's so awesome, right?
Yeah.
I love and Basketball, and it is what made me be like, I gotta go to film school. I actually, so LMU was having a special event, and Gina Prince Bythewood was a guest.
Oh, okay.
And I was invited to the event. This was about 4 years ago at this point, maybe. And I got to meet her after, and I told her, I was like, I was a sophomore in high school when I saw Love and Basketball in the theaters, and it made me like commit, like, I gotta learn how to do this. And she's like, oh, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. But I just really love that movie. Rear Window was just incredibly creative.
When did you first see Rear Window?
I first saw Rear Window,
like before college.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I forgot all about it. I never remembered that I saw it. And when I was in college for Christmas one year, my brother gave me an Alfred Hitchcock collection. It was like 6 films. And it was in there. And the first one of what he bought me that I watched was Vertigo, which took me, I was like, oh.
Another great film, yeah.
But then Rear Window, and I was like, I've seen this. And I was like, I know I've seen this. And then at one point, it all flooded back. And I'm like, oh my God, it's the movie. And that movie was just so creative. The lens of watching through the voyeuristic lens, watching through your window, and then like trying to solve this crime. Like, you have all of this information, but you're like bedridden. It was just great.
And he's in a wheelchair, so he can't really do a whole lot. He needs his love, Grace Kelly, to go over there and search the apartment.
And that movie made me just adore Grace Kelly. She's still one of my favorite film icons. She's
fantastic.
Alfred
Hitchcock is my favorite director, and I often say, it's maybe not my favorite Hitchcock movie. It's in the top 3 or 4 for sure. But if there was someone who wanted to see a Hitchcock film who had never seen one of his movies, I would show them Rear Window. I think that 100%. Is the quintessential like Hitchcock movie where you really understand the themes he's playing with, the way he uses the camera. I've taught that film in a couple like English film classes the last couple years, and that part where the villain looks into the camera lens, realizing he's being watched by Jimmy Stewart. Still, like to this day, how many this film came out? This film came out in 1954, and students would just scream in my classroom. Oh my God, because he's always been kind of apart from our main character. But then he looks not just at Jimmy Stewart, but right at us.
Yeah,
it is.
So great. When you said it just now, I got chills. Like, felt like I was being stared at. That movie is great. And then Love and Basketball. So with that movie, for a couple of reasons, I think what drew me to it in the first place was, and it was actually the first DVD I ever owned.
Okay.
Was Love and Basketball.
2000.
Yep. And it takes place where I grew up, like in all the places I would go.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a private high school. I went to St. Mary's Academy in Inglewood. But
Okay.
if I had gone to public school, Crenshaw High would have been the school that I would have had to go to based on my address and all that.
Okay.
My brother went to Dorsey High, which is the school, their rival school, that they play in one of those basketball scenes. And
Mm-hmm.
I knew like everywhere that they were. And so being in 16 years old, 15 or 16 years old, sitting there watching it, I was just like, this is so cool. Because I knew exactly like where everything was. But then just the way that Gina puts that story together was fantastic. And on the DVD, there's director's
commentary.
notes. So you can like watch the movie and listen to her talking during the movie.
Yep. I love commentaries. Yeah.
And it drew me in. Like the filmmaker in me was like waking up, because I was just so intrigued by the magic of all of that. And Sanaa Lathan did not know how to play basketball. She learned how to play
for the film. Okay. Yeah.
And then just how awesome it was that they had like all these Dick Vitale and all these real people who do what they do in real life, doing it for the movie. When she's in college and he's doing his sports show that used to come on every Saturday, and now you see him in the movie like doing it, and she's in a real WNBA game, and it was just like, it was awesome watching all those parts come together. And it's still just in my top 5 probably of my favorite things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful film. I love the performances in it, the romance, the passage of time is dealt with really well in that movie, which is tricky, especially like a 2-hour movie or however long it is. It's hard to show passage of time like that, especially with the same actors all the way through. But that's handled really well.
She used her soundtrack beautifully to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So, again, it's so great to have you here, Adrianne, to talk about Regina King. So when did before we get into her film credits, we're going to kind of go through some of her highlights on her filmography and obviously her TV work and everything. Do you remember like the first time you saw her in a film? Like how were you introduced to Regina King?
227. So my mom,
her first credit.
Yep. She watched 227 all the time. Regina King's, when you look at her range, like when she started, it was 1985. I was born in 1985, so
it started right when their birth.
My entire life. And I feel like I was 6 or 7 watching 227 with my mom.
Okay.
And seeing her like, and I really had to like, she looks like me. And
yeah,
I still to this day, I love that show. My sister clowns me all the time, like, you are watching 227 again. And I'm like, well, whenever it comes on TV, I have to watch it because it doesn't come on all the time. But that was when I first met her, was 227. The first time that I was like, I like her, was Boyz n the Hood.
Okay.
Because I was also older and was taking in, which is also in my top of favorite things ever, because again, that's the hood, that's where I grew up.
The perfect.
Yep. Seeing her in Boyz n the Hood, she was sassy and like us, you grow up and you just have this unnecessary sass about you. But her character was so important for each scene that she was in. She was hilarious to me in that movie, and she wasn't even trying to be, like, she wasn't telling jokes. She was just doing her thing, but she was super funny, and she felt like one of my friends, like she was just super relatable. Even in Poetic Justice, which was like right after, she was just always this overly relatable character that I think a lot of Black girls, who are now all mid-30, but at the time, a lot of Black girls probably related to, like, yep, I got a friend that's just like that.
Yeah, and really responding to her.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So she was born on January 15th, 1971, grew up around Los Angeles. Her parents were a special education teacher and electrician. So she did not come from like a Hollywood family. Her younger sister, Raina King, she acted for a short period of time as well as Regina. But obviously, Regina's had a really long career going all the way back, as you said, to 1985. She is a recipient of an Academy Award, a Golden Globe, and 4 Primetime Emmy Awards for acting,
Yeah.
the most for any African American actor, which I read,
Mm-hmm.
which is fantastic. And that's been
Which is
like in the
fantastic.
last, what, 5-6 years? I mean, it's
Right.
like every year, new Emmy
Yeah,
for
they were
Regina.
back to back.
Right?
They were rolling.
So as you said, she gained attention for her first role on the television series 227. She was on that from 1985 to 1990. So she would have been doing that like in her teenage years. That was kind of like her acting job during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then her next big credit, 1991, as you say, is Boyz n the Hood. That's her feature film debut. What a great film to get your start in. I mean, a lot we've talked about on the podcast before about some of these actors where it takes like 10, 12 credits to finally get in something good, something successful. I mean, she starts with Boyz n the Hood and Poetic Justice. What a beginning to her film career. Right?
Yeah.
Both by John Singleton, of course, who was I believe the youngest director to be nominated for Best Director at the Academy Awards for Boyz n the Hood. He was like, what, 23 or something crazy? His first
It was
film?
like his thesis, if I'm not mistaken.
Was it his thesis film? Oh, man.
And then he developed it out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say if Boyz n the Hood was his college thesis, I'm gonna feel pretty bad about the movie I made.
Boy, but yeah, he was like fresh out of USC Film School. Fresh out of USC.
Yeah, like 22, 23, very young.
Boyz n the Hood, and I mean, an intro, he kicked down the doors with that movie.
Absolutely. And that film just did so well critically and with the Academy Award nominations. And I don't know how Regina came to be a part of that film. I don't know if it was just a standard audition, but I'm assuming he might have been familiar with her work on 227.
For sure.
Or if she maybe just came in and blew everyone out, blew everyone away. Yes.
Yeah. That because she liked Morris Chestnut as well. He broke out in Boyz n the Hood.
Okay.
And I'm imagining that like a lot of those actors, Cuba Gooding Jr., they were young and probably affordable as well at that time.
Yeah, I don't think this movie cost a whole lot of money, right? There wasn't probably a lot to pay the cast and crew.
Yeah, like they had Lawrence Fishburne and Angela Bassett who were young and known, but still young, you know, like it wasn't, you know, they put something together that they could afford, and it just turned out to be all these all-stars that are phenomenal.
Yeah, I would say maybe Lawrence Fishburne would have been the most well-known actor in that film at the time. I mean, he was in Apocalypse Now from 1979. So he was acting throughout the late 70s and the 80s. Yeah. And Angela Bassett, one of my favorites. I love her too.
And I think they had already they had already done What's Love Got to Do with It, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that came out in 93. So it might have been right after Boyz n the Hood that they unless they pushed it back.
Right after.
Yeah.
It was right after.
And then that film got Oscar nominations for both Angela Bassett and Lawrence Fishburne, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, for lead actor.
It's full of gems. All kinds of people like emerged out of that movie. And Regina King, you know, being so young and not having a ton of credits, I think probably did impress them in audition. And you know, you never knew how incredible she was getting ready to become.
Absolutely. So she follows it up with Poetic Justice, which was the second film directed by John Singleton. So he probably admired her work enough on Boyz n the Hood to say, "Come on back, Regina. I'd like you to be in my next film."
Yeah.
I have not seen Poetic Justice. What is your take on that film? The Janet Jackson's debut, right, in a feature film as an actor, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and Tupac.
Yeah.
I don't think that was his debut.
Okay.
Because Higher Learning, so maybe it was because Higher Learning
Higher Learning also with Regina King is 95.
Right. But Tupac was not in Higher Learning. He was in Juice. And I don't remember if Juice came before or after.
I think 92, if I'm not mistaken, would have been Juice. Okay. So that would have been a year before. Or it's around that same time.
Yeah, they were all like stacked in this. Felt like one every year period, which was great momentum for actresses like Regina.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're just like building up your filmography. But Poetic Justice is another one of those South Central set films. Janet played Justice.
Okay.
And she worked in a hair salon, and Tupac played a postal worker, like a postal clerk.
Okay.
and they end up Regina plays her friend.
Okay.
And they end up I think her name was Aisha. I have a sister named Aisha, so I never
Okay.
forget. And
Yeah.
Regina played a girl named Aisha. And Regina talks her into going on this road trip with Joe. There's an actor named Joe Torre who played
Okay.
Regina's boyfriend,
Mm-hmm.
and she talks Janet's character into going with her on this road trip to Oakland.
Okay.
And Tupac was Joe Torre's friend. So like you got these two couples basically. Justice and so Janet and Tupac weren't a couple when this all started, but they did end up, like, as you watch them evolve, like fall into this love
Okay.
with each other. And it's a really great
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
sort
no,
of
going through the filmography yesterday, I was like, oh, there's a lot of films here I haven't seen. I can't wait to watch them. I'm gonna like use her 50th birthday as like an excuse to watch all of her older films.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So that's Poetic Justice. 1995, she's in Higher Learning, as you mentioned before, as well as Friday, which is a big breakout hit too.
Oh yeah, Friday.
Yeah, I saw Friday in high school. It's been a long time. I can't really remember Friday, but I remember it being really funny. Chris Tucker and Ice Cube, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a cult classic. And Friday was her second film with Ice Cube.
Okay.
Boys in the Hood being the first.
Exactly, yeah.
And then Friday with Ice Cube. It's definitely a cult classic. I call it it's a cult, like, for sure, I would say.
Was it not a big box office hit in 95? Was it more of like, okay, it was. And I mean, definitely after home video, right? It took off.
Yeah, it became, so, and I call it a hit because from what I read, it did significantly better than the critics thought it would.
Okay.
In anticipation for it, then it did, like, it surpassed. But I think it was the longevity of it that turned it into classic.
Absolutely.
Because it just never died. And then they ended up with, like, there was Friday, next Friday, and Friday after next.
Are there 3 or more than 3?
There's 3.
There's 3. Okay.
Yeah, it kept going.
They couldn't. There was no title for the 4th film, so they had to stop.
Right. And Chris
Friday
Tucker
after next.
Chris Tucker stopped. He didn't come back.
Is Chris Tucker only in the original Friday? Is he not in the sequels?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. He plays Smokey. And his character is important. It's so important. But he moved on. And
he chose Rush Hour sequels over Friday sequels.
Right. Exactly.
Maybe paid him more money.
Yep. Maybe. This was a good call on his part because Rush Hour blew up.
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember Rush Hour 2. I still remember seeing that opening night.
My favorite one.
Packed, like every seat was taken.
Favorite one.
Rush Hour 3 came much later. I want to say like 6 years later, so there wasn't as much interest in the third one as there was in the second. But he's great. He's great in them. He's really funny.
Yeah.
So that's 95. 96, the first film that I saw her in. I remember I saw this with my parents in the theater, and that's Jerry Maguire, where she reunites with Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah.
Right. So have you seen Jerry Maguire? It's such a fantastic film. It's been a long time for me, but it's pretty great.
Honestly, I feel like that probably was, I would argue, probably the biggest role she had at that point. Yeah,
and that was nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Everybody and their grandmother was going to see Jerry Maguire. So it probably got the most eyeballs on her, especially from white audiences, right? Probably would have seen her for the first time in that. Maybe some audience members who had not checked out even something like Boyz in the Hood, which was really popular.
Yeah, it was definitely like the first time she was in not just like a black movie.
Yeah. So again, I don't know how she came to be a part of that film. Cameron Crowe directed that movie. Cameron Crowe, who had done films like Say Anything and Singles. This was kind of Cameron Crowe's like big breakthrough too as a director. This is his biggest movie to date. And Cuba Gooding Jr. would win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor that year, which was like a famous, his jumping and screaming on stage is pretty famous.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So that's a fantastic film. And then after that, I mean, she's just in one giant movie after another. I mean, she's in some occasional like TV movies that I hadn't heard of or seen.
Yeah.
Some guest star roles on some shows, but I mean,
Yeah.
geez, 1998. I mean, she's in How Stella Got Her Groove Back, which I had not seen until I watched it for its 20th anniversary. Really
Nice.
fantastic film with Angela Bassett and Whoopi Goldberg.
Yep.
She is in that film. Also in 98, she's in a huge blockbuster movie with Will Smith, Enemy of the
Enemy of the
State,
State.
which
Yeah.
was a favorite of mine when that came out. That was November of 98. So I had just turned 14. I was big into like
Right.
action movies, thrillers
Oh
at 13,
yeah.
14, 15. Enemy of the
Yeah.
State. I loved Will Smith, and I was like, I am into this one.
Yes, indeed. He
Yeah.
was huge at that time too.
That was, yeah, I would say from like 96 Independence Day into like the early 2000s. I mean, he could not, I mean, even Wild Wild West, which was kind of critically
Mm-hmm.
maligned, still was a hit.
Yeah.
Like he could be in
Yeah,
films that weren't great and they would be huge
for
blockbuster
sure.
moneymaker. Which
For sure.
he still has that power today. But
Agreed.
I feel like the late 90s to early 2000s, that was like Will
That was
Smith is
his
in a
time.
movie, it's
You're seeing
$100 million at least.
absolutely 100%.
She's also in Mighty Joe Young, a Disney movie from 98. So she is working a lot at, by this time. I'm
Right.
assuming after Jerry Maguire, she's getting offers. She's not necessarily having to audition as much as she might have used to in the early 90s. Now she's probably getting offers to be in some of these bigger movies.
Mm-hmm.
And then into the early 2000s, we get in 2003 and 2005. She's in two pretty hated sequels to big money makers, and that's Legally Blonde 2 and Miss
Yeah.
Congeniality 2.
Yeah.
Which Sandra Bullock is my all-time favorite. So
Yes.
there are elements of Miss Congeniality 2 that I can kind of like I can enjoy.
You
The
can get with.
best part of the sequel is Regina King for me. In
By
Miss
far.
like their partnership in the movie and their banter together.
Yeah.
That's the best part of the sequel.
I said that. I was like, watching Sandra Bullock with, who was it that she was with? What's his name in the first?
Benjamin Bratt or Michael
Yeah,
Caine.
she was so great. Like her and Ben had a really good dynamic, and it was like, who better? And honestly, I was like, who would have thought that her and Regina's chemistry was going to be so fun to watch?
Yeah,
I
almost
really
better than
enjoyed
her
it.
chemistry with Benjamin Bratt in a way.
Yeah, I really
She is
enjoyed
playing
it.
the Benjamin Bratt character in a way, Regina
Right.
King in the
Yeah.
sequel. She's kind of like, and she's almost like a mix of Benjamin Bratt and Michael Caine. She's kind of like
Right.
carrying weight for both of them who are not in the sequel.
Right.
But yeah, she's fantastic in that. I just wish the screenplay was better, the movie was better, but
All
she
of
does what she can. I mean, sometimes you don't have the greatest script in the world, and you just got to do what you can. But she's a really fantastic comedic actress, right? That we maybe we haven't seen her as a comedic actor in recent years. It's when looking at her, projects of the last 5 years, it's all dramas. But she's also very, very funny, and sometimes we forget that.
She really is. She really is.
Yeah. And then 2004, she gets her first major nomination, part of the SAG Ensemble for Ray, starring Jamie Foxx.
Her in that movie. I adore her in that movie. I think like I just felt for her. And I didn't want to feel for her.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you're the other woman.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, damn you, Ray, for sucking her in. And she just really plays her part so strong in that movie. And there's like that one scene when they're Ray had written Hit the Road Jack, and they're performing that, and she's singing the Don't You Come Back No More, and the camera's like right on her, and she's so emotionally singing Don't You Come Back No More. And that's when I was like, oh God, she was perfect in every way. Nobody else, I don't think, could have been Marjorie Hicks.
And then Kerry Washington is Ray's wife in that film, right? So any film that has Jamie Foxx, Kerry Washington, and Regina King.
I mean, come on.
Did so well. Have Kerry Washington and Regina King acted together in a project after that? Because I would, they're two of my favorites. I would love to see them in some kind of a
Yeah,
fun
I
show.
I don't recall them acting together. Regina King did direct some episodes of Scandal, though.
That's what it was. I was like, they've connected, and that's right. She directed some of Scandal, Regina King,
Yeah,
which is also
yeah.
a great show. I missed that show. That was a lot of
I
fun.
missed that
Scandal.
show so much. I had a whole blog on Scandal,
Oh,
and
you did?
every week I was the lead gladiator, gladiating through my keyboard on Scandal. Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, if Grey's Anatomy can have 17 seasons, like, let's just go for it. Scandal.
I
Maybe
mean,
it'll come back. Some shows will come back.
yeah,
Maybe they'll have a storyline, even do a limited series or something. I mean,
I would love it.
I think has a limited series coming out.
Yep.
That ended in
Mhm.
2013. So it's
Yep.
never over till it's over. It
It's
might come back.
never over till it's over. With the state of affairs in our country, there's plenty of storylines that Scandal could take
Oh,
on. So,
absolutely, for sure.
yeah.
So let's see. So she was in one of my favorite shows in the mid 2000s. That was 24. She was in season 6 of
Yeah.
24. She was on The Big Bang Theory for a few episodes for a number of years. And then her real like breakthrough in television, I would say, started in 2009, and that was her role as Detective Lydia Adams on Southland from
Oh, I was so
2009 to 2013, which is also the first directing job she had. She directed an episode of Southland.
yeah. I was really sad to see that show go. I enjoyed Southland so much, and I only watched it because I saw that Regina King was going to be in it,
You
and I
saw
was
that, you
like,
saw her
oh,
name and was like, I'm
yep.
zoning in
I
on
was
this one.
like, I'm in. She's playing a cop. What? And it's in LA, and I am an LA native, a proud, committed, loyal LA native. So anything that's going to be happening in LA, I'm already sold. But to see Regina King like as a member of LAPD,
Yeah,
I was here for it.
absolutely. And this is an
Yeah.
interesting part of her career too, because starting around the early 2010s, the beginning of her career is television on 227, and then she
Hmm.
transitions into a film career. And then
Yeah.
after 2010, she only has been in one feature film as an actress. Uh, it's been all really television for the last 10
Yeah.
years. So
Very
it
TV
kind of
heavy.
like went back a little bit to the beginning to,
Yeah.
starting in television now. I mean, obviously television has changed since the 1980s. There's so much more, rich content for actors now. And I've heard
Right.
like a lot of actors are flocking to television because the parts just are more fun, have
Hmm.
more weight to them, more emotional weight. And
Yeah.
so her credits of the last 10 years or so have been mostly television.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, we have American Crime, which she appeared in 3 seasons, three
Uh,
anthologies, right? So it's like American Horror Story,
American Horror
where every
Story.
season's a new character, a new storyline, but features some of the same actors. And Regina King came
Hmm.
back for all three, right? So
Yeah.
she won her first 2 Emmy Awards for acting for 2 of the 3 seasons of American Crime.
Hmm.
And that
She's
was, I want to say that was on ABC, right? Was that an ABC show? I don't think
that's a
that wasn't on like streaming, right?
I don't
Wasn't it
think it
on
no, it
like
definitely wasn't
yeah.
a streamer. It
Yeah.
definitely wasn't a streamer. That American Crime, oh, just such a
Hmm.
brilliantly written anthology. And her character, like watching her play the nuances of this Muslim woman,
Hmm.
where she I don't know, like there was something about her that just she pulled back a layer or something to me in her craft. I really,
Hmm.
really like she made me lean in
Mm.
to her watching her play that character.
Yeah. So before we get into her last few credits here, Adrian, just like what is so enticing about Regina King on screen in a television show, in a film? Like what does she bring to a character? What is so fascinating about her as an actress?
Yeah. So I think, and I'm gonna speak for myself,
Hmm.
watching her be, she in every role I've seen her in, she's very sure. Like she's got this
A
confidence in
confidence, absolutely. Hmm.
each and every role. She's
Hmm.
super confident and sure of who she is,
Hmm.
whether she's Brenda on 227 or whether she is, um, Ray's mistress
Hmm.
in Ray.
Hmm.
She's super confident in that part.
Hmm.
Um, but then like she's got this deep raspy voice
Hmm.
that is just almost like therapeutic. I love listening to her. Um, she's got these, I don't know if she does it on purpose or not, but she's got these very easy comedic beats that even when she's playing non-comedic roles, she still has this way of like hitting these beats that make her character so important, like Beale Street. And I'm sure we're going to get to that. She was not on screen for very long.
No.
It's not like the actress who played her daughter was on screen a great deal of the time. But then you go on to be able to win in a year that there were so many people who could have won that
for
year.
Supporting actress, yeah.
Oh my God, that year, there were too many actresses that I was like, how are they going to pick a winner? I mean, and then it was Regina, and she earned it. She deserved it because she knows how to devour the time that she's on screen and make herself so important. And she knows how to go in and out of emotion. She commits to each and every emotion that she's supposed to be giving out. And I think she just really knows how to become the character. She knows how to not like act like a grieving mother, but be a grieving mother.
Yeah.
And so I think it's that, like, she knows how to eat up a role where you're not really watching Regina King, but you're watching someone else and you want to know more. You know,
she absolutely disappears into her roles, right? Which is hard to do. A lot of actors can't really do that, but I really do forget I'm watching her when I'm watching a really great Regina King project.
Absolutely.
And as you say, confidence, authenticity. She's just, you really get a sense that she knows what she's doing, and she is so great at her craft, and it just keeps building every year. I mean, I think all of the awards she's been getting, especially these last 5 years, are well earned. And I think we're all really appreciating what she brings to the table, both as an actor and a director, right?
Yeah.
So before we get to Beale Street, she directed a lot of TV the last 10 years. As you say, she directed Scandal. She directed Animal Kingdom episode, Greenleaf, This Is Us, Shameless. She also appeared on Shameless for a few episodes. It's one of my favorite shows.
And
Shameless.
see, I never saw her on Shameless. And when I reviewed her filmography, I was like, how did I miss that?
It was only like 3 or 4 episodes. I can't remember. I mean, I just started watching season 11, so it gets kind of confusing what has happened on the show. Emmy Rossum just left the show a couple years back, and but yeah, she also directed some of that. She's directed The Good Doctor and Insecure, which I believe is her newest like TV project she directed, which I need to catch up on. That's on HBO, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's going into its final season. Issa Rae announced it. She announced it the other day that season 5, the season that's going to be coming next, is going to be the last season of
season 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's some of these shows where they kind of reach the end of the story in season 5 or 6, and then there's these other shows that just go on and on forever, and you're like, there needs to be somewhere in between. Like, if it feels like there's more, give us more.
And there could totally be more, but I can understand why they're moving on.
Yeah,
I get it. Bad about it, but
so 2018 is this insane year for Regina King.
Oh God, my favorite year of Regina King.
I have not seen this show. I need to watch it. 7 Seconds on Netflix, I want to say.
It's my favorite role she's ever played.
Her favorite role. Okay, I'm watching it this week because it's been on my list. It's so hard, Adrianne. There's just like, I've got this list of like 87 shows.
It's so much stuff.
It's short, right? Isn't it like 6 episodes or something? It's very brief. Is it just one?
I think it's probably 8. I think it's 8
episodes. It's just one season, right? It's just
one season, unfortunately. I thought that it was gonna come back, but they didn't bring it back.
Okay.
The good part is there's not the kind of cliffhanger that literally pisses you off that they're not going to bring it back. Like, you leave me on this cliffhanger.
Oh, okay. It ends in a satisfying way. Okay.
It ends where you could be like, okay, well, I guess it ends, but it could have totally went for another season, and I wish it would have. She plays
Latrice Butler is her name.
Yes, and I tell you, she plays a grieving mother whose son was killed by police.
Okay.
And it just just watching her eat up this character is heartbreaking.
It's like a really emotional Regina King
It's
role.
really emotional. It's really, really tough watching her grieve, watching her go through the steps of grief, but then unwillingness to accept the story and the narrative that's being handed to her. Her co-star, the actor who plays her husband, is Russell Hornsby, who I also love. And the two of them, and I really feel like they were bringing it out of each other. Like as actors, I feel like they were pulling it out of each other. But when you watch scenes where he is in the scene with her, I genuinely, and I wish I could ask him directly, I feel like she was so lost in Latrice that it was making his job easier. Like it just was so easy. It looks so easy. Let me say that, Russell. I don't want to insult you, but it looks so easy to be the grieving father to the grieving mother, to the grieving wife, the way a husband would have to delicately handle her, who's refusing. She sleeps in her car in certain moments, and she, oh man, I cried so much watching her. And every time I talk about it, it gives me, I shudder to think about where she had to go to play that part. And I remember just being over the moon when she won for Beale Street, because it was the same year. But I was more over the moon for her from 7 Seconds.
Yeah.
Because it's like you acted your ass off. And I've never seen her. I'd love to talk to you after you watch 7 Seconds.
Yeah,
I've never
I can't wait to watch it.
Eat a character like that before.
Okay, yeah, that's gonna be first up. I've got like at least 5 on here I'm gonna get to, but 7 Seconds I'm gonna start with. So of all like the recent TV projects she's done that are very, she's won Emmys, like your favorite of all of them, including, which I forgot to mention, she's on one of my favorite shows the last 5 years, The Leftovers on HBO.
Which I have not seen. That's on my list.
She's only in part of the 3 seasons, but she's fantastic in that. It's 3 seasons long, and it's really unique, kind of dystopian show that's unlike anything I've ever seen before, based on a great book by Tom Perrotta. So definitely check that out. That's an HBO series. Of all of these, it's 7 Seconds. That's your favorite. Okay, cool. So I will take a look at that. So yeah, so she does 7 Seconds. She wins her 3rd Emmy Award. I believe she won that. Was 7 Seconds early 2018? And then I'm assuming then she won her Emmy in the fall of 2018.
Yeah.
And then November, December, If Beale Street Could Talk is released, her first acting role in a movie since 2010. So she had not been in a film for almost 8 years.
Yeah.
She has a small role in this movie from the director, of course, of Moonlight, one of my favorite films the last few years. Wins the Golden Globe, wins the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. And as you said, a very competitive year for supporting actress. We had 2 actors from The Favorite that year who I loved, Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz, who were kind of her competition. The Favorite.
Honestly, I thought Emma was gonna take it.
I thought, well, my thing was Emma Stone had just won for La La Land 2 years before that. I thought Rachel Weisz might take it because she was amazing in The Favorite.
Rachel was incredible.
And she had won before, but way back in 2005 for The Constant Gardener. So it had been 13 years. Yeah. And I thought, well, the Academy really, really loves The Favorite. They might reward Rachel Weisz, because I thought lead actress was going to go to Glenn Close because she had never won before. I said, well, yeah, I mean, I think this is Glenn's year, so she'll win there. The place that The Favorite might win is supporting actress.
Yeah.
Because If Beale Street Could Talk, the movie itself, I believe, only got nominated in 3 categories. It wasn't like it swept picture director or anything. So I'm like, well, they'd seem to be a little iffy on the film. So I felt like, and Regina King, I believe, was not nominated at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
She just is like, so she wins the Golden Globe. She's not nominated at SAG, gets the Oscar nomination. So I'm like, well, the SAG nomination being left out there, I was kind of like, I'm not sure. but she just won an Emmy. She's great in the
Yeah.
movie. Let's give it to Regina. So yeah, Academy Award winner, Golden Globe winner, Emmy winner in the same period of like what, 6 months? I mean, that's insane.
Mhm. It is.
And I loved If Beale Street Could Talk. Wow, I saw that in the theater. I love the work of the director Barry Jenkins.
For
Beautiful
sure.
love story, and Regina King plays the mother. And as you said,
Yeah.
she's not in a lot of the movie, but every year I say this: supporting actor, supporting actress should be a supporting performance. It
For
should
sure.
not be the second lead of the movie, someone who's in it
Right.
for an hour and a half of 2 hours. It should be
Exactly.
it shouldn't be one scene, but it should be someone who kind of supports the main
Yeah.
storyline of the main leads. And I think that's a great example of a superb supporting performance in a movie.
For sure. She was just phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. So I loved her in that. I think if you haven't seen If Beale Street Could Talk, it kind of came and went a little bit. I'm assuming a lot of our listeners might not have seen that one. Definitely
Right.
check it out.
It
Fantastic
had
film.
one of the best scores.
Oh,
That was the
the
one
music.
one I was disappointed that it didn't win best score because
Yeah.
it did it get
I
nominated?
believe the score was nominated. I think it got 3
It should have
nominations. I can't
won.
remember what the other two. I think one of them was
It should have
score.
won. It was the best score,
Oh,
and
and the
I played that
cinematography
score.
too. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Just
Oh
looked
man.
just gorgeous. Yeah. So
Yeah.
definitely check that out. 2019, Regina King's like, well, I could take a break. I just won my Emmy and my Golden Globe, my Oscar. Let's take a year.
Right.
No, she
I'll
shows
go on
up in
vacation.
a absolutely stupendous, beautiful, striking show, Watchmen on
Oh,
HBO in
bravo.
2019, which
Yeah,
was just such an amazing piece of art. I mean, it was just like
absolutely.
I forgot I was watching television. I was just like, wow. I mean, this is really, really rich thematic material, and what an
Yeah.
ensemble. And Regina King, in many ways, kind of leads that ensemble in
Yeah.
Watchmen. She's great in that
Yeah.
show. You saw Watchmen on HBO?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Watchmen won one of the AFI awards last year.
Okay. And
Yeah,
then
and
she won her fourth Emmy
her
for
fourth one.
acting for Watchmen.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that is crazy. I mean, I don't know. Has any other actor like achieved that? Like 4
Oh,
Emmys in the course of like 4 or 5 years for
I
different shows? I mean, that's
right.
crazy.
All for different things.
For
Right. It's
different
not like
things.
it's the continuation of the same role
Yeah.
over and over.
Which happened like in the 80s and 90s. You'd have these
Yeah.
actors like Kelsey Grammer, Frasier, they would just win all the
Right.
But she's, I mean, even American Crime, that's 2 different storylines, 2 different characters.
Right.
So
Yeah.
4 different characters on 4 different projects. And to win in that short of, I mean, 2015 to
Yeah.
2019, I mean, that's crazy.
I always just feel so proud every time she wins. I feel like it's someone like that's my friend and she won again.
And it's always a huge roar of applause when Regina King wins anything,
Of
because
course.
everybody loves Regina King.
She's beloved. Yeah, she really is so beloved.
Yeah.
Very much so.
So that takes us to her most recent project. After many, many years directing television, she has finally directed her first feature film called One Night in Miami, which is now available for anyone to watch on Amazon Prime. This premiered on the festival circuit, right, in the fall of 2020, which was tricky, right? It's like if this had been a normal year, she probably would have been attending all these festivals and probably winning her awards in person. But it's been mostly virtual. So like I didn't have a chance to see this one in the theater, but I did watch it at home. And what a beautiful, beautiful movie! What an astonishing directorial debut! What you said the word confidence before. What a confident directing debut this is. What a unique story for her to take on as her first movie as a director, right?
Yeah, I said the same thing. This was a really unique story for her to take on for her directorial cinematic debut.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, the thing I love about the story is that, these are 4 people we know, 4 people who have had different pieces of art on them.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen Ali and Malcolm X and different depictions of the stories of these people, but we have not seen this story before. She wasn't just remaking something that we've seen already. This was a unique take on history, because this night really did happen. This night in Miami was real.
Yeah, so the
And
night happened.
so,
These four men really got together, right? But
yeah,
the actual material in the movie is kind of fictionalized. What did they
right.
do? What did they talk about?
Yeah,
Which is
it's
interesting.
imagined.
Hmm.
Right. She takes a great stab at imagining. It also for me was brave and confident because it is adapted from theater.
Hmm.
It was a stage play, um, which I can feel that
Yeah.
sometimes
Hmm.
in watching it that it was made for stage.
Hmm.
Um, but I thought that she was really strong in blocking. You know, it's really
Hmm.
hard.
When you're in like one room for what is it?
Yeah,
At least an hour of the movie, right? Is it in a room
correct.
with four
Yeah,
men? Yeah.
and there's no like it's hard when you're dealing with that, and it makes me think of like Castaway. Like you got a whole movie with this guy in the ocean, you
Yeah.
know.
But at least in
So how do you
Castaway, you have a whole island to shoot around. You can have him do a
right
scene over here and then over. Like when you're in a room, it's tricky to keep it cinematic, you know. But
for
she does a good
sure?
job with that.
You got 20 feet around you to shoot, and she
Yeah.
did great with the blocking of these four guys.
Hmm.
Um, you know, watching the blocking change as they were changing topic.
Hmm.
You know, sometimes I would look at who was sitting, who was standing, who you could see in the frame, who you could almost see, and sometimes it really made what was being said matter,
Hmm.
even for people who weren't talking, to see them in the frame. I remember there was one particular scene, without spoiling.
Hmm.
Um, Malcolm X character is talking about the Cassius Clay character being
Hmm.
so passionate about something.
Hmm.
And then Cassius says, well, passion's a strong word.
Hmm.
And that's news to Malcolm.
Hmm.
But when the camera cuts to Cassius, he's like alone in the shot, standing up by the door.
Hmm.
So for him to be proclaiming like, passion might be a strong word, and he's by himself by the door,
Hmm.
standing up, almost like I'm sort of like leaving this thought process, um, that you think I'm super stabilized in.
Hmm.
It's those very subtle things that I can't help but imagine she did intentionally, though,
Hmm.
um, very confidently, to help drive the point home further and help you try to connect with
Hmm.
what may be happening. And then when it cuts back to Malcolm, though, he's standing in the middle of the floor,
Hmm.
and the other two actors are in the shot, but he's standing in the middle of the floor, but alone.
Hmm.
And he's looking back and forth, sort of like dumbfounded and almost embarrassed.
Hmm.
He almost looks embarrassed, and
Hmm.
he feels isolated now, watching him be so far away from him, making that proclamation. And so things like that for me were very, very strong, and they
Hmm.
kept me from completely drifting. When the movie first started,
Yeah.
I found myself drifting off back and forth because I was like, okay, nothing's happening.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't let me leave. It wouldn't let me drift all the way, because then something would happen, and I'm like, oh, okay, here
Hmm.
we go. I'm locked in, and I thought that it was both a compliment, sort of, and a critique, though. Like I did drift a few times,
Yeah,
but I
it's
never.
tricky. It's tricky
Yeah,
when you have a film based on a play, and I've seen a lot, and some of them are successful, some of them are not.
yeah,
Like I mean, there's films that at the hour mark you're like, okay, it's too claustrophobic. You need to get me out of here. I think what she
yeah,
does really well at is the kind of the cinematic flourishes. Obviously couldn't have been on the stage very much, but the way it opens with it's almost like the film has like this really kind of elongated prologue and epilogue where we
hmm,
get out of the apartment and we kind of
hmm,
get to see what these four men are doing before their night that they meet. And I
yeah,
loved the opening 10 plus minutes where we really get to see them, in their prime and these things that they all love to do.
hmm,
We should mention the actors in this are absolutely fantastic. We have Kingsley Ben
fantastic.
Adir as Malcolm X, which of course was a character played by Denzel Washington very famously in the
Yeah,
1992 Spike Lee movie.
yeah,
And that's, when I think of Malcolm X played by an actor, I think of Denzel. So, So Ben Adir had, I mean, that's a tricky endeavor, but I thought he pulled it off. I thought he was astounding in this. I really enjoyed his performance.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he was trying to be Denzel. He wasn't trying.
He did his own thing.
He did his own thing, and it was great.
And we have Eli Gorey as Cassius Clay, who would later be, of course, Muhammad Ali. Leslie Odom Jr. as Sam Cooke, who...
Yeah.
We won't give it away, but the last scene with him is so moving.
It is.
And then Aldous Hodge as Jim Brown. And so, it's just like this fascinating idea, and especially to take a play and put it on screen in a way that, there are moments of it where you feel a little bit claustrophobic in that room, but as you say, her blocking is so strong. The way she has some cinematic flourishes at the beginning and end that takes us out of that kind of play-like feel. And I mean, I don't know, what the casting process of this was like, but to get these 4 actors for this film, I mean, she really did her work to get the best actors possible, who looked like, Eli Gorey, I mean, he in some ways looks more like, Muhammad Ali than Will Smith did in the 2001 biopic.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. And he really plays that young Cassius Clay, confident, cocky, like he's really good with that.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed it. I hope more people check it out. Do we think this is going to get some nominations? I mean, she's won everything else. She needs to win directing for a feature film, right? That's next.
She does need to win. So the thing is, I think she should get nominated. Maybe get nominated. I don't think she needs to win for this though. I don't think it was a win-worthy effort, but I do maybe think it is a nomination-worthy effort.
I think it's. I mean, this has 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. People are really loving it, and it's coming out now. So it's going to be fresh in everyone's minds.
Yeah, I think it's a nomination.
It's possible. It's possible. I think that would be a great feat for her to get at least a nomination for director at the Oscars.
For sure.
I think this will do well at the Golden Globes too. Like, I'll be curious to see how this one does.
Yeah, and I think
very strange year.
These actors probably, especially for me, Kingsley Ben-Adir, I really want to see him get nominated for this.
I think he has the best shot of the 4. Yeah, he's fantastic. So One Night in Miami, you can watch it now on Amazon Prime. It's fantastic. Her feature directorial debut, Regina King. And then the last thing, she has wrapped a film called The Harder They Fall, currently in post-production. Yeah. I don't know much about it, but that's coming out later in 2021.
Yeah, I read a quick tagline about it, that a man is looking to get revenge against the person who murdered his parents. I'm really interested to see what her role is. Idris Elba's in this movie. I'm assuming he's probably the man looking for revenge. But I am very excited to see what her role in this is going to be. And it's expected to come out this year from what I read. So I can't wait to see what that's going to be.
Yeah, one thing about Regina King, I feel like at this point in her career, I mean, when she takes on a project as an actor or as a director, it's something we need to take notice of. I do not suspect at this point in her career she's going to take on just kind of a nothing role. Like, she's going to do stuff now that's meaningful, that she's going to, showcase her talent maybe in a way she hasn't before.
I believe that Regina chooses stories to tell, especially as an actor. She's been choosing stories to tell because she believes the story needs to be told.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not just because of the project itself and who else is in it, but I believe that, she's been able to tell the story that nobody else is going to tell otherwise. And I think that also might be what we feel from her when she's committing to the character. I have a friend, just to jump back to 7 Seconds briefly. I have a friend who was like, I can't even finish that show because her brother died at the hands of police. And she was like, she is literally my mom. And she was like, it's just so hard to watch. I can't watch that again, And so like to really embody the stories that she believes are important, is something I'm also expecting to see from her as a director as well. And I'm really looking forward to the future. I feel like she's a new artist to me right now as a director now, though. And I'm like, oh, I can't see what more this, she's getting ready to give us. So I look forward to Regina King. I love Regina King. Anyone who doesn't know Regina King needs to get to know Regina King.
Absolutely. Well said. And I too am so excited for her. I mean, just turning 50, she's got so many decades of work to come. I can't wait to see what she does in the next 10 years. There's going to be so much great material.
It's very exciting. The thought of it is just very exciting.
All right. Well, thank you, Adrianne, for being on Film at 50 today. I just wanted to end with if you have any any way for our listeners to find you online or anything you'd like to promote and talk about, this is the time.
Yeah, well, I don't do film online, so you won't find me as a filmmaker online. The channel that most of my creativity is found on YouTube is P4CM. It's the letter P, the number 4, the letter C, the letter M. It stands for Passion for Christ Movement, and it's a group that does motivational and inspirational, Christ-centered performance art. We have talk shows on there. I actually produced a talk show that's on the channel that stars as our host, Molly from Insecure.
Oh, cool.
Was our host on that talk show before she did Insecure. And then there's like a lot of spoken word and a couple of mini reality series on that show. And it's where I poured most of my creative effort in the last 5 or so years. But I do have a blog that's probably going to come back soon. I had my blog, it was called The Scandal Suite. And I said that I was going to start doing that on more shows the way that I did it for Scandal. And so that'll be to come sooner than not. I'll have to have me back on once I get it started.
Yes, I would love to have you on the regular podcast at some point. There's a lot of great films. If you're interested in 70s films, there's a lot of great stuff to come. So we will be in touch. This was great.
Yes, let me know.
All right, so thank you, Adrianne, for being here. And thank you to everyone for listening. We will catch you next time on Film at 50. Happy 50th birthday, Regina King. We love you.
Yay.